Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment, talking about astrology and the death of Selena Quintanilla, part 2. Now, I talked about most of what I wanted to talk about regarding the tragic murder of Selena in part 1, but I want to just talk a little bit about it more in part 2. There were at least a couple things that I didn't include in part 1. This one will be more concise and quicker than the first one, but um, anyway, well, one thing about the death of Selena that I neglected to say in that first one, I thought as far as how her astrology chart may have related to it, was she had the ruler of the 10th house in the 8th house, and the ruler being Pluto, and it indicates that she might have gotten, sadly, there was some notoriety connected with her death, and that this was something that was very public. Now, I don't know if she necessarily became more famous after her death than she was during the time when she was alive, but it did certainly add to it, even though sadly it was in a very adverse or negative manner. And the thing about, and again, that having having that Pluto right very close to her Black Moon Lilith is just, I mean, it really can show some sinister energy in connection with one's death. And the thing about in the death, likely from this person, I mean, that shot. She said she admitted she did shoot her. She said it was inadvertent. Yolanda, who Saldivar, who shot her, she claims it was inadvertent, but I mean, most people believe it was malicious. It was intended. It was not an accidental shooting. Most people think that Yolanda fabricated that story big time, and really, that was the main thing I wanted to talk about as far as what I may not have included in that particular that first video that I was talking about the death of Selena. But another thing too is that I thought was interesting is that when I was talking about that full moon that took place at around March 16th, 1995, when you had the full moon in Virgo, was very close proximity to that black moon with in Virgo in Selena's natal 8th house. It also activated a mutable T-square configuration in her chart, which obviously was not very good. The mutable T-square consisting of the Venus in Pisces near the 2nd house cusp, and of course it could show some gullibility and being overly trusting monetary matters, and of course the full moon and making in very close proximity, close conjunction to Selena's natal Black Moon Lilith in Virgo in the 8th house of shared resources, which can shine a light on some very sinister activity connected with frugality in shared resources situations, a very strong revelation and unveiling. And you have at the midpoint of this mutable T-square configuration is Moon in Sagittarius in the 11th house, where this is something where, God, that's a point, we're talking about the focal point of a mutable T-square configuration, and the focal point, it can be that point of over-accentuation, over-emphasis, and in this case, Moon in Sagittarius in the 11th house, and the Moon in Sagittarius being almost at 29 degrees, the full, which of course could represent, I believe, the full culmination of the moon's energy. This could indicate very blunt energy to the point of where one can practically demoralize somebody. And even though Selena may not really had entrusted this person big time, it's very likely that when she did decide to confront her regarding these matters, this was going to be a time where she was going to really express this in a very blunt and very tactless, very outspoken Sagittarius manner, speaking what she believed was her veritable truth, being the 11th house of friends. Well, you can do the math. I'm sure she saw this person as a friend, Yolanda. So, and again, I think that's really basically what I wanted to touch up on. And sadly, look at Selena's chart. Interestingly enough, she had Saturn in Taurus at the critical 22nd degree. I mean, when you're talking about it, I mean Saturn and Taurus by itself can indicate a lot of laborious effort in doing something Taurus related, something in this case singing, something with the arts. But the 22nd degree, of course, is a critical degree, can be very adverse, and she sadly had a very sad, ending. This was not far from her fourth house cusp of the end of life. So anyway, people, that's basically what I wanted to expound on as far as the death of Selena goes. So anyway, people, astrology and the death of Selena. But anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. And until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.